Hey, Agaho, new microphone, everyone. It's a good time up here. It's the Global Battle Association Season 7, Week 2. We are playing one of our, I guess, long-time GBA rivals since back in Season 2. That's why we have the throwback logo on right now. We're playing Tom, coach of the San Jose Sharpedos, who is 0-2. No, he's not. It's 0-1 minus 2. Get the order of the numbers correct there, Cooper. Last week, we defeated the Philadelphia Scissors by a score of a 3-3 timeout, because that's how we do things around here. However, who was it won? Gio, I believe, got a 3-0 last week, so he is in first in the Melee Conference. Fun fact, with the current status of the playoffs and whatnot going into this week, I am not in the playoffs despite winning, and Chimp is actually in the playoffs despite losing, so that was a kind of funny thing. Doesn't matter because the season is not actually 1 week long, but yeah. So Tom had the first overall pick and picked Celesteela, so that was a thing. And yeah, we can go over what his team is now. Again, this is still kind of new and whatnot. I'm also hoping the audio will not desync, but Camtasia is a stupid program, and I don't really know how to do about that, so hopefully the audio won't desync. We will talk and mention what Tom has on his team. He has Celesteela, Thundurus Therian form. I am not pleased to be having Thundurus in my face again for a second week. Nidoqueen, Vaporeon, Porygon 2, Azelf, Hitmonlee, Zygarde, the Canid form, Incineroar, Lurantis, and just picked up Gardevoir this week, dropping Rebombi. And generally when someone picks up a poke in free agency, they usually bring it to that next week's game because, ooh, shiny new toy, and or, oh, this has a good matchup for this opponent, so I should go ahead and add it, this week specifically. So that usually happens. So therefore, I'm definitely going to expect Gardevoir to come, and we'll see what I want to do about it. So let's take a look at what we are bringing this week. We're bringing Zapdos because it's Zapdos. Pretty much the same same moveset as last week, except we have Hidden Power Ice instead of Toxic, because if I run Electric and Toxic, then I can't do anything against Nidoqueen. And I expect that's going to be a very likely thing to bring because, yeah, again, we're not bringing hazard removal, so that's sort of a continuous problem with this team is we have two guys who have removal, and neither of them I really want to bring removal on. So, yeah, I made a goof, though. Come find out, none of my timid Zapdos have Hidden Power Ice, so instead we have a modest Zapdos that doesn't outspeed max speed Nidoqueen, which may not end up to matter anyway. That's just if he brings an offensive Nidoqueen, which I felt like he would because outspeeds Cloyster, outspeeds Breloom, and can get him with, Thunderbolts and Ice Beams, so that was, actually Sludge Waves, super effective Breloom. So I really was thinking he was going to have max speed, or, a little under max speed, but enough to outspeed plus speed base 70s. So that was why I wanted speed on Zapdos. Oh well, we didn't get it, so it's especially defensive at any rate. So it should be able to take Ice Beam and, hit it with Hidden Power Ice, and then other stuff can deal with it. So, that's Zapdos. Yeah, I said modest, right? I think it's modest. So it hits a little bit harder, I guess, on balance for not outspeeding Max Speed Nidoqueen, but we'll see. We got Reuniclus back again. This time we have Magic Guard, because, again, things like I don't want to be taking hazard damage. We still have Calm Mind, but we are not the all-in Calm Mind Acid Armor set. In part because, why again? There was definitely a reason. There was definitely a reason we were not that thing. It may have been, I don't remember why we weren't that thing. But anyway, we're Calm Mind Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball as well tacked on there, so it should be, well, okay. Possibly because of Roar Vaporeon? Or other stuff that could just... Incineroar. Incineroar was the reason, maybe. He has a Dark type. I don't think he's going to bring Incineroar, but he might, so that might have been the reason. Anyway, not that Psychic and Shadow Ball is great coverage against Incineroar anyway, but we'll do what we can. We are mostly specially defensive because this is kind of sort of my switch into Thundurus, which I feel like is probably going to be Specs because one space speed over Manaphy and just clicking Volt Switch is going to be pretty effective. I have a lot of electric weaknesses. I do have one electric immunity, but if he predicts right one time and goes Grass Knot, Hippo is dead. So once he gets that out of the way, then they can just Volt Switch everywhere, and that's going to be a horrible time. So we're going to have a Spadef Calm Mindy Rhinoculus, who can hopefully take a Thunderbolt and try to get on with its life. So there's that. And also we can Calm Mind and maybe set up on P2 and maybe Vaporeon that lack Roar, since we don't fear Toxic. So speaking of Hippo, we do have Hippo, very standard moves, Slack Off, Rocks, Stone Edge, EQ, good stuff. Fully especially defensive, so that if we do have like a, I don't know, like a Life Orb Thundurus Therian, maybe we can live Grass Knot. I kind of wrote Hippo off last week because, oh, he has Electric type with Grass Knot, but actually no, Hippo can, he can chew one. He doesn't enjoy it, but it's freaking Hippo, man. Hippo's great. Sand Force, of course, because we don't need sand probably ever with this team. There might be 1 or 2 weeks I bring it. Probably not. Anyway, so yeah, very standard stuff on Hippo. Bringing out Scrafty this week. Scrafty may be my second favorite Gen 5 poke. After Reuni, maybe. I don't know. It's mostly because of Aaron. But anyway, we have Dragon Dance this week. Who was the guy in the power rankings that said, oh, Cooper, you should have got a setup poke instead of Scrafty? Scrafty has like 1,000,000 setup moves. Are you kidding me? Among them being Dragon Dance, and you know, it's like Dusknoir bulk with Dragon Dance, and like I feel like it's one of the coolest things to have bulk to be able to get 2 Dragon Dances up. So I think we just have Stab this week because his Fairy is neutral to knockoff, so that being Gardevoir, so that works. And after 1DD, I think we have Black Glasses, which should secure a KO on the Gardevoir. After 1 Dragon Dance, we do outspeed a max speed Timid Gardevoir, and after 2 DDs, that also allows us to outspeed the base 115s of Azelf and the Zygarde Dog Dude. So that's how we have Drain Punch. I think I threw High Jump Kick on there on the 4th slot, which could have just been anything. It didn't really matter. I'm never going to click it because just on the off chance I need to do more damage and I already have some Dragon Dances up, I don't know. Drain Punch is better because it doesn't miss and get you killed. Cloyster's back again. Has Skill Link stuff. Actually has Icicle Spear this week because I need to be able to kill Nidoqueen. I actually do not recall. I will check right quick what the how much speed am I running on this Cloyster? I am running only 60 speed actually, because again I expect Nidoqueen to be running max speed. I believe that speed is such that a min speed Nidoqueen, if he's fully bulky, Cloyster will be able to outspeed it. So we have Toxic in case, you know, he wants to be switching in. Porygon 2 and Vaporeon, who are going to be very difficult to kill. I'm kind of hoping... No, Vaporeon will definitely come because of the threat of Darmanitan. I am hoping maybe P2 won't because I have Breloom and Scrafty who can do fighting things to P2. I mean, P2 will take them because it's P2, but I'm hoping the combined forces, the Intimidates and whatnot, not that you need to intimidate Porygon 2, but the intimidation factor of the Scrafty and the Breloom will keep P2 at home, but I guess we have guys to deal with it if it comes, so there's that. And yeah, you'll have to see if you can guess the held item. You probably won't, but you might. And then finally, Boom Burst. That was probably really loud, I'm gonna have to cut that. But yes, so we bring in Specs Boom Burst this week. Those of you who don't know, Swallow got a buff to 75 base special attack in this generation, which makes it like only a little behind Exploud, which is awesome. And yeah, Specs Boom Burst destroys the world. I feel like he might not bring Celesteela because Zapdos kind of shuts down Celesteela. It has Stone Edge, but Pressure Stall. And unless it like gets me on a Leech Seed on the switch in, I can just sub roost on it. So yeah. So I'm thinking maybe that won't come, and if that doesn't come, then I don't believe he has a resistance to Boom Burst. And I feel like also P2 and or Vappy might be physically defensive because Darm. So, or just, you know, Gut Swallow. So that's a thought. And if that's the case, then there's a chance we can actually like 2-hit KO guys with Specs Boom Burst. So cool. At least we can get rocks up or get some prior chip damage. What else do we have? I think I do have Heat Wave just on the off chance Celesteela does come, as well as U-Turn and Pursuit. I do not expect to click anything besides Boom Burst, but the options are available and there if I so choose. So we will take a peek at what he actually did bring, and again, my footage is not lined up for this, but I'll try to do it from memory. We do see the Thundurus Therian, the Nidoqueen, which I'm kind of going to assume will lead to get up hazards. We do see the Wall Core of Vaporeon and Porygon 2, Hitmonlee, which I was not super high on him bringing for some reason or another, but possibly because Zapdos, but Stone Edge still does a decent chunk, so he will have some form of hazard removal. And then Gardevoir, which again I mentioned, kind of shiny toy syndrome / it's picked up this specific week for a reason. But yeah, so Gardevoir could be a problem. But if I can get a DDF with Scrafty, then I guess we'll be okay. That might be a potential win condition if we can get a Dragonance up on a switch, and then one-shot a Gardevoir, and then maybe we can then proceed to tank a hit, get a second DD, and I don't know. It could happen. We will go into the game and see exactly what transpires. Right, so Nidoqueen seems like it would be a pretty decent lead. I don't really have a whole lot to kill Nidoqueen from full, so there's going to be that. So we're probably going to have to two-shot it, and if we're going to have to two-shot it, then I'd rather get as much information as I can, and also just generally be a safe lead. So if that means we're going to lead out with Zapdos. So Zapdos versus Nidoqueen is going to be the lead matchup here, and we're definitely going to HP Ice on the first turn, because I cannot allow it to set up hazards and for free or anything like that. I gotta at least get some prior damage on there, and I might outspeed it. If so, that'd be cool. If I don't outspeed it, then that means it's not as bulky, and we might 2-hit KO. I don't know. It's a scenario. But I expect it would probably just set up Stealth Strike, so I could sub, but that's gonna be pretty silly when Porygon 2's in the back, and the Dose is not really gonna be able to do too awfully much to a P2, since I wasn't able to bring Toxic this week. So we do outspeed, so at least that's nice that the, not having a timid HPS Zapdos didn't come to bite me in the buns. So it actually works out better because I do outspeed it. That also lets me know that Cloyster is, well, I guess it doesn't let me know that Cloyster is going to outspeed it because I chose not to run much speed on Cloyster. But if he is a fully defensive Nidoqueen, which now he might be, as he didn't outspeed Zapdos, then Cloyster might outspeed it, so we'll see if that's the case, but yeah, I'm just going to go safe plays, right? Safe plays for, yep, another hidden power, because I don't want to mess around with Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is very much a threat, has powerful ice beams with sheer force and all that stuff, don't like it. P2 comes in, and I have a couple of guys I can go into on here. The number one most defensive one is probably going to be Reuni. I can start setting up Calm Minds, and we can see where we go. Hitmonlee packs a strong knockoff, but other than that, I feel like there's not too terribly much you can do once I start setting up Calm Minds. So I think Reuni's going to be the best play. It's either, one of the two setup guys, either Reuni or Scrafty is going to be who I go to here. Scrafty's going to seem at least a little more threatening, but eh. So he's going to Charge Beam, and he is going to get the special attack raise, so that means I definitely need to go and get Calm Minds going on and see where we can go with that. As we're definitely going to need I'm probably going to need like +6 in order to start like even remotely coming close to being able to two-shot Porygon 2, because it's Porygon 2. So I don't know if it's going to be especially defensive or physically defensive just yet. We haven't actually, well, that's not, no, Hidden Power Iced it. I definitely did damage to it. I definitely did the calc at the time in the game, and I forget now during the narration whether it was specially defensive or physically defensive. But I did a calc. It's very difficult to tell on the bar anyway, so whatever. He actually has double electric attacks. He's got Charge Beam and T-Bolt, so that's intriguing. But we are going to start Calm Minding up as he gauges how much damage that does to see that I'm at least somewhat specially invested in Uni. And obviously I'm not Assault Vest because I just use Calm Mind. So I got some. I got a Calm Mind. We could either go ahead and keep setting up Calm Mind, or I could go ahead and go for a hit on whatever wants to come in. And I'm still kind of like really afraid of Thundurus Therian coming in, because that could still taunt, it could still nasty plot and dark pulse, and I want to have as much attack power as I can. Psych, literally psych. We psychic and deal some decent damage to the Vaporeon, which looks like that's going to be. Again, I knew in game, I don't know now. But anyway, so we get some damage on there at least, and 2 unboosted psychics is going to be better, or 2 + 1 psychics is going to be better than 1 + 2 psychics. So if we only end up to get up 2, we'll certainly see here if it has Roar, which he already set up Stealth Rock, so now Roar shuffling is going to be kind of a problem. A couple of guys on the team don't care too much about it, but eh. So he actually roars me out into Swallow, and it is, however, a little bit below half health, and that should be, based on the damage Psychic was doing, that should actually be Boom Burst range. So yeah, anytime I can get Swallow in, like, for free is going to be alright. Now, unfortunately, rocks are a thing, so that's not great. But I will accept it in exchange for Swallow getting in for free off roars, so that's kind of cool. Presuming, of course, as see, this is a spooky situation, as I'm not sure why it's a spooky situation, but it's a spooky situation. Tom likes spooky things, so I decided to use the ghost emote strip right there. We're clicking Moonburst, we're going to explode, and this is going to die, or something's going to die, or get 2-hit KO'd, maybe. And that thing is going to be Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen's dead. So, awesome. Specs Moonburst, I believe, gets its first KO with Swallow in the GBA, so good job, Swallow. Getting another kill in another game. Swallow, the last round pick, is putting in a mighty shift for us right here. I love that sped up animation on Swallow. He's just like bobbing back and forth. Anyway, Gardevoir comes in here, and based on the way he brings it in, what's the hippo emote for? Hippo for my hippo? Probably my hippo. I'm feeling Scarf. As soon as he brings it into a Swallow, I'm feeling Scarf. I'm not quite sure if a Boom Burst would KO. If he's at all defensive, then it will not KO. But if he's not defensive, then he's going to be offensive in that, and I feel like he's going to be Scarf. So I'm thinking Scarf right now, and I got a couple of guys to go into. We do have a Spidef Hippo, which will not take too awfully much, but we also have a Spidef Reuni, who's probably going to be safer. So that's what we're going to end up going with as we do see Moonblast come out, and that looks like that's going to be an offensive Gardevoir. So that's still making me really think it's going to be Scarfed. And yeah, I guess that's alright that we didn't go into Hippo there. We can kind of do the same song and dance as before. I would kind of like to pull a Recover. I would also kind of like to pull a Calm Mind in order to have some damage boosting up in case Vaporeon wants to come back in. And because, yeah, Reuni's not exactly bothered by Stealth Rocks, so he doesn't have to worry about getting Roar shuffled out and having to come back into it. So it's between Calm Mind and Recover. I guess I could also Shadow Ball, as that would be that, but he's not going to stay in. I believe there I'm calculating to see if I can take another one, and I think I can, especially if I Calm Mind. So the Wishy Fish comes back in. I'm a liar again, and I recover back to full HP, just in case of, probably in case of Hitmonlee, because if I'm not at full HP, Hitmonlee can easily come in and just revenge Reuni with knockoff, so that's probably a thing I'm thinking about right there. And I would like to set up Calm Mind, but I kind of can't, because there's a Roar guy here, so we can just hit Clobber with Psychics. Unfortunately, I'm not +1 now, so and this is a no special attack invest in Reuniclus, so Psychic doesn't do, I mean, it does almost 25%. I'm semi-okay with that. So here, you wish and then you protect, right? So I could predict Protect and Calm Mind, or I could just say, well, he's not going to die, so he has no need to protect, so I'm just going to Psychic and hope that I get him down low enough that maybe whatever gets roared in can kill him. So indeed, he does not opt for Protect, he just opts to go Roar. And Swallow comes back in again, and gets back up to full life. So here, I probably should not have made this play, but I made this play. Yeah, if I Boom Burst here, then the Vaporeon is effectively dead. Especially if it attempts to do something else, like, I don't know, set up a wish. I guess setting up a wish would be fine. But anyway, if I Boom Burst here, it definitely gets it down in KO range for anything else, because I believe I do outspeed it with everything bar Uniclus, but it has to, like, wait a turn to work, so I could still Psychic it to death. It doesn't do nearly as much as I wanted it to, but oh well. So we end up to kind of sacrifice Swallow for getting a meaty hit on Vaporeon and kind of condemning it to die at some point, maybe? Not entirely sure that was worth it. I don't really think it was, because Swallow is outspeeding all the things. Although I guess there's also a Scarf Gardevoir there, so it's not, as long as that's around, we're not going to be able to sweep with Swallow, so I guess that was kind of fresh on my mind as well. Gardevoir is going to be Scarfed. It hasn't shown it's going to be Scarfed. I'm just like sniffing around. I'm like, I think that's Scarfed. It's a good smelling Scarf, but it's a Scarf nonetheless. So thinking about who to go into here, and we're going to go into Punk, because, no, I think I just have some HP investment. I'm going to attempt to pop a, well, I would like to pop off a Dragon Dance here, but I'm thinking, I think Gardevoir's probably Scarfed. And as long as it's Scarfed, we have a problem. If it's not Scarfed, then we don't so much have a problem. We do have Shed Skin. I don't know if I mentioned that, so that, you know, if Skull comes out and, you know, does the thing that Skull does, we might not have to worry after, you know, a couple of RNG rolls go our way. We're able to, you know, make a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of our turns to end the condition. That's what Shed Skin allows you to do. We're actually just going to go for knockoff, pick up the KO on Vaporeon, or knockoff. I guess that was the thing too. Also, if the Gardevoir does want to come in, it won't do very much damage. Well, it'll actually do a decent chunk of damage. It'll probably do approaching 50% if it's an offensive Gardevoir, but it would lose the Choice Scarf and lose the potential to Trick Scarf, lose the potential to you know, outspeed a +1 Scrafty, etc., etc. So we do get the KO there. So Swellow's efforts were not in vain. That's going to be, is that 2 down on each side? No. Who's so down on my side? Whatever. You guys can look at the score right now that I have on the screen, but I don't have it up there because I put it up there in post-commentary. So, it's going to trace Shed Skin, and we're going to switch out here, I believe, into Reuni. But right about now, I'm thinking, I think this thing is going to trick, and it's going to trick me a Scarf. So who do I want to get a Scarf tricked onto? The answer is nobody is really a good candidate to get a Scarf tricked onto them. However, I'm going to end up deciding to let Reuni get Trick Scarfed, which is probably the worst thing because it absolutely can't use the Scarf whatsoever, and it's one of my setup guys. I am correct, it is Trick Scarf, so it's not that I didn't see it coming, it's just I'm not sure what else we would have wanted to do. I mean, I don't want to get Hippo Trick Scarfed, I don't want to get Zapdos Trick Scarfed because that, I didn't really want to get pretty much every guy on the team left has set up except for, well, actually I guess there's Cloyster, but if he went for the attack, Cloyster was dead, so I don't know. Probably should have just gone to Cloyster, although Cloyster's also not speed invested, so I don't think I might outspeed the Thundurus with +1, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, probably should have gone to Cloyster there if I was really wanting to sell out for the Protect, or for the Trick, but I did not. So in exchange, I now lost this thing, which kind of beats P2, so that's not great. But we do Shadow Ball, at least he does stay in. If P2 wants to come in, then that was why I felt okay going for Shadow Ball there. Porygon 2 did want to come in, I can just go right into Scrafty, start Dragon Dancing, and now I at least know this thing is not Scarf, so I will be able to outspeed Gardevoir with one Dragon Dance under Scrafty's belt. So that's why I felt safe going for Shadow Ball right there. Even though he's got a P2, and I'm obviously now choice locked onto it, so I believe I go for it again for that same logic. As if P2 does come in, then okay, I just go to Scrafty and we get on with our lives. Again, things are spooky because I got a Trick Scarfed Reuniclus, and I probably should not have. I really should have gone to Cloyster, thinking about it many turns later. So I actually ended up to double here, predicting P2 to go ahead and come in so that I can, you know, get him in without having to let P2 get a hit off on him. That's not the case whatsoever, and this is going to be a Hitmonlee. So on my mind is the whole, you know, normal gym fake out endeavor thingamabob, and that's not great. Would like to get some damage on there so that we do have priority in the form of Ice Shard. I don't think I mentioned that on Cloyster, so if he does tap into the limitless potential of unburdened speed with Hitmonlee, we do have that at least. And High Jump Kick comes out and does a buttload of damage to my not physically defensive Reuni, because, you know, that's what Reckless does. So, thankfully he's Life Orb, so that means he is obviously not going to be the normal gym Unburdened stuff. He's not going to be doing Unburdened, so Knockoff does go ahead and finish off the Reuni. And, yeah, being Life Orb Hitmonlee, that definitely would have, I don't think it would have one-shotted Reuni from full, but it would have gotten darn close. So, if I had any scratches on Reuni, it was probably dead, so... Here's Hitmonlee being a pain, and because I sacked Swellow, I don't have a, you know, a Boom Burst to hit it with. Granted, Hitmonlee has very nice special defense as well, like base 110, it's actually really good. Its HP is a bit poor, but it's like, it's on par with, like, Scrafty, Split Up, so, thereabouts. So, but we're gonna go into Hippo here, as it's my best thing to, you know, do physical, attacky things with, and... Man, I'd like to get Stealth Rock up, but this is just not, this is not the time to get Stealth Rock at Hippo. We gotta get some damage off on this thing in some form or fashion. And I could EQ, which would definitely kill it because Hitmonlee's physical defense is not very good. Or I could predict Thundurus to come in and go right in for Stone Edge. In the end, I decide, well, I don't want a dead turn of Thundurus coming in, and then Hippo's like, well, crap, I'm dead to grass knot. So, if nothing else, I'll get, hopefully Stone Edge will get it down low enough to where Cloyster Ice Shard can kill it. So, if he doesn't want to stay in, I'm hoping he just wants to switch. We're going to click Stone Edge, and High Jump Kick comes and lands. and thankfully Stone Edge lands as well, so that's good. I'm not entirely convinced that's in range for a Cloyster Ice Shard, but it's close enough that I would chance it. Hitmonlee does over 50% to Hippo because it's not, again, not physically defensive, and I don't really think there's anything else I want to save Hippo for. It's dead to this, it's dead to P2, it's dead to Thundurus, so it's dead to too many things, so I'm just, sorry Hippo, this was just not your week. After the Life Orb hit though, that is definitely going to be, I think, in a Cloyster Ice Shard range, so that's what we're going to go into here. Probably would have been better if this was a Choice Scarf Cloyster, and which I could have well brought, although that would have revealed Cloyster's held item, so yeah, what do you guys think Cloyster's held item was? It was, it sure was something. Anyway, we're going to, I believe, Ice Shard here and attempt to go ahead and grab the KO. Though I suppose also P2 coming in would be a bad thing, so I might want to Icicle Spear. But I can't mess around with threats because right now Hitmonlee is going to outspeed stuff, and yeah, I can't mess around with it because it is very much a threat. I don't think it hasn't shown Stone Edge, but I'm going to assume it has Stone Edge, and there's also a pretty good chance it's going to outspeed my Zapdos. So thankfully he does just let it in, or keep it in and let it die. Could have definitely gone out to P2, but oh well. So I'm not feeling great right now. My Reuni got Trick Scarfed and kind of got deaded as a result, so that's not great. It's currently 3-3, but I feel like I'm definitely behind the 8-ball. We are going to see Ice Shard come out, and he does have Yache Berry. I'm not quite sure why, because that doesn't, at least as of 6th gen, it doesn't work against Icicle Spear. Or at least not, you know, in the way you would want it to. Maybe Ice Beam Manaphy? Not sure. But anyway, it does, however, do an amount of damage that is going to be kind of potentially relevant here. As instead of being down at about 50%, it's at about 75%. So Punk's going to come in here. Unfortunately, I don't really have time to pull a Dragon Dance, because one Dragon Dance is not actually going to allow me to outspeed. I think I could have EV'd him to outspeed with one Dragon Dance, but then he would have had like no bulk, and he has Zygarde with E-Speed. Knockoff, however, does not pick up a KO, which I'm pretty sure I calced that it totally should have, so I feel like that was probably at least some bulk on the Thundurus right there. And the Yache Berry, obviously, keeping him out of KO range for knockoff, so... Oh, no, you know what? You know what it was he ate the Yache Berry, therefore he didn't have an item, therefore he didn't die. So that's what it was. I realized that just now. So, in a roundabout way, the Yache Berry, like, saved his life in two ways. It reduced the Ice Shard damage, and it reduced the knockoff damage. So Yache Berry pulling double duty, and I feel like I probably needed Punk to have any chance of winning this game because of P2. No, this is the last guy. So yeah, Falzer's left, and yeah, as much as I love Zapdos as the best electric flying in the game, unfortunately 1v1 Thundurus Therian kind of has an advantage because, you know, Volt Absorb. But yeah, I can either go for something or not go for something. I'm just going to go Hidden Power Ice, and thankfully he keeps it in. So because of the factor of having P2 in the background, there is pretty much no way that Zapdos is going to beat it. As unfortunately I do have T-Bolt HP Ice, I do not have Toxic. If I had Toxic, I could beat P2. What else does he have? He's got P2 and somebody else. Thinking of, but yeah, I don't have Toxic. If I had Toxic, we could probably beat out P2, but we don't have Toxic, so we cannot beat out P2. That is going to be a loss, and I'm trying to remember who the last... It's Gardevoir, right. Well, I think Gardevoir probably could have had it anyway, so I'm just going to sub and kind of bide time and try to think, is there any way I'd win this, and I'm pretty sure there's not. He actually gets a Spatak raise there on the T-Bolt again, and I am pressure, right? Yes, I believe I am pressure. So Ice Beam's going to come, and I guess I was thinking maybe there's some universe where I could PP stall. Charge Beam only has 10 PP, Ice Beam only has 10 PP, but if he's getting raises, then I don't think this is going to work out in the end, or at least I'm going to end up with, because there's another Charge Beam with special attack raise, so at this point, he's getting enough Charge Beam raises that I'm not going to be able to roost and be able to live the stuff, so that's going to be it. Thankfully, we were able to shave off a couple of differential points there by him staying in with Hitmonlee, him staying in with Thundurus Therian, so that's going to be a 2-0 loss to the Sharpedos. And we're going to move to 1-1 at -2 because we did not gain any differential last week. Shout out to the Tebow emote strip making an appearance here. Tebow played for the Jets one time, that 1 month or whatever. Tom's a Jets fan, so there's that. Alright. This microphone is, like, not being the best for me right now. I think we're breaking it in. It's like new boots. We're gonna have to break the microphone in. But anyway, so that was a good game, Tom. Definitely enjoyed it. It's always a good time playing against Tom. Did not play my best game, as, you know, we saw. I kind of got my Reuniclus, which could set up on P2 trick to Scarf, and that's just silly. Really should have just got the Cloyster trick to Scarf, and that would have been good, because, as you know, Scarf Cloyster is, you know, my thing. Though this one had, like, maybe 60 speed EVs, so I'm not actually sure what it would have outsped. But I would have definitely had to calc that mid-game, as that Cloyster was not intended to have a Choice Scarf. But if I was going to sell it for the Choice Scarf, or the Trick Scarf, then I probably should have just gone with that, so... Anyway, then again, I guess for Uni was probably not going to be setting up and sweeping, because Hitmonlee's knockoff does a heck of a lot of damage, so there is that. But anyway, yeah, and sacking Swallow was probably quite dubious as well, though I guess again, as long as Scarf Gardevoir was around, it was not going to be doing too much, but still should have kept it because Swallow was awesome. Could have got some more Specs Boomburst KOs. At least we got one. Definitely enjoying using Swallow. I enjoyed using Scrafty this game, so definitely looking forward to bringing both of those again. Maybe not that same exact set, but you know, the new stuff is really starting to click, and getting used to it, so that's good. And as you know from last season, if you want to make the finals of the GBA, you gotta lose to Tom. He has to be done. He's the giant killer. You know, if you lose to Tom, then that means you're awesome. You're really good. You're probably making the finals. If you beat Tom, then you're just like everyone else. You're probably not making the finals. You're just the mediocre player. So that is what I choose to believe based on the empirical evidence from GBA Season 6. So yeah, it's great stuff. So that actually moves now Tom ahead of us. He's a plus... Did he lose 1-0? No. Tom's ahead of us, I think, because differential. We have negative differential because we did not gain any differential in our win last week. So there is that. The division race is shaping up with a surprising result that happened this week. I'm not going to tell you guys what it was in case you haven't seen the video yet. A surprising result, and yeah. Next week we do play... Oh, also Pokemon of the Game. Pokemon of the Game is not appearing in this video because I can't really identify one poke, at least on my side, that really did anything spectacular. Kind of just everyone I think went 1-1, got 1 KO, and then died. So, and then 2 guys didn't get a KO because it was a 4-0, or it was a 2-0 rather, with 4 things getting KOs. So yeah, no one really super stood out, so we're just gonna skip that segment this week. But it was a good game nonetheless. So yeah, go and congratulate Tom, because Tom is cool, and there's that. So anyway, said my piece on that. We can psychoanalyze and stuff in the comments on other stuff that Cooper could have done properly, like I don't know. I'm sure there's other things. I definitely will admit I completely spaced on knockoff getting not as much damage because he had already eaten the Yacha berry, though I don't know. Well, I would have hated to have clicked high jump kick, so there's that. High jump kick is what's 130 times stab divided by 2 resist. It's like it would have basically been the same as the boosted knockoff, so it probably would have KO'd, but it's also high jump kick, and I don't know that it actually would have mattered anyway, because I wouldn't have gotten, because Gardevoir would have came in, would have threatened me out to Zapdos, and then I don't even know quite if Zapdos would be able to beat Gardevoir. It was Spadef. It's possible we could have pulled it back there at the end if I had HJK'd and would have KO'd. But it's HJK, so I freaking hate high jump kick. It probably would have missed. So that's what I'm thinking would have happened. But anyway, I guess it would have depended on whether or not Zapdos could 1v1 Gardevoir, taking a Moonblast on the way in, and I don't know that Dos could have taken Rocks plus 2 Moonblasts, so I think it probably would have been the same result even if I clicked high jump kick there. But that's just me rambling on here at the end of the video. Let's move on to who we play next week, which is going to be the Detroit Steelwings, who we have not played since Season 4. Which the first game in Season 4 was the Charizard X, you suck. You just had to DD up and win the game, and you got paralyzed, and then full paralyzed off of Jolteon Thunderbolt, and that was when I knew that Zardex was one of the worst megas you can pick. in the GBA. So thankfully no Megas this season. The second game was where he made a boo-boo and trick scarfed my Nidoqueen or my Nidoking, changing my life orb to a scarf and letting me kill his Gothitelle. So that did not quite work out. I believe he just like saw, oh, the pink button, that's the psychic attack, that's what I want to click, and that was not the correct thing to do. So but yeah, Crimson has had two. No, I think he was in season 5. I wasn't in season 5. So we kind of like mismatched there. He wasn't in season, or I wasn't in season 5. He wasn't in season 6. But we shall battle again here in this next week. We will see how we fare in that one. And yeah, later days. Also, there's going to be an announcement coming, possibly, maybe, at the end of next video that I hope you will look forward to in some form or fashion. So yeah, later days.